Hey there everyone, how are you? I want to talk to you about warm-ups for runners. My name is Steve Gonzer, physical therapist with Run Smart Online. So, for those of you who don't know, I treat like a lot of runners who are over the age of 40, and runners get hurt quite often because they like to run, and they like to do nothing else typically, so they're just a bunch of people who like to run. And we talk about often how do you get people to stay injury-free, and all the time I talk about glute strength and should you stretch and training plans and all that stuff makes sense, but this is a simple one for you. It comes from a patient to this morning, yesterday, who was talking about warm-ups, and he wanted to know about like, what's the right way to warm up? Should I be stretching beforehand? If I stretch, how long should I be stretching? So I figured I'd go live, talk to you guys about warm-ups real quick. I think it can help you because the next time you go out for a run, if you don't warm up properly, you can increase your risk for injury, and it's pretty simple, and it's not going to take you a lot of work. So real quick, what you need to know is if you want more, before you even do that, if you want more help with your running, go to the link in this post, and I have some more stuff there for you. You can check out training plans, strength workouts, all that stuff just for runners. But here's what you need to know about stretching and warming up. So I had this patient come in, and they were talking about, what's the proper way to warm up. He was stretching a lot, and he was hurt, and he wasn't sure if he was doing it the right way. And we went into this long tangent about motion is lotion. And if you're one of these runners, and if you are, maybe just throw me a like or like a love or something, one of those things. And you get out of bed and like everything's a little stiff. If you've been inactive for too long, maybe you sit on the couch for a little bit, you get up from your desk, you get out of bed in the morning, you're like, ooh, just gotta loosen it up. And that's this conversation we had with the patient. And I talked about motion is lotion. So what you want to do with your warm-up is you want to encourage blood flow. And blood flow is going to loosen joints, it's going to loosen muscles and tendons, it's going to make things less susceptible to injuries. Because here's what's happening. When you're inactive, if you are an early morning runner, if you are someone who sits at a desk all day, if you're someone who's just sitting around and gets up and decides to go for a run, when you're not active, what ends up happening is, Barb, I hope is that for me? When you're not active, blood is getting pulled from your legs. It is your body is pulling the blood out of your legs, and it's giving it to your organs, your intestines, and it's using it for digestion. So it's stripping all the blood out of your legs, and that blood is lubrication for the joints, muscles, and tendons, and all that jazz. So when you're inactive, it all gets pulled away. But the way the body works is that when you start using your muscles and tendons, it'll start pushing blood back there. So if you ever been for a run and it like takes you a mile to set in and get settled and feel comfortable and like less stiff and less hobbled, that's because the body is finally circulating that blood. So this is super important for people who do sit at work all day, who do run in the morning, because when that blood is out of your legs and in your intestines and not to the working muscle groups of running, it's easy to pull things, it's easy to tear things and get irritated joints and just feel overly stiff. So here's what I recommend. So one of the best things you can do is move, right? So depends on your age. As you get a little bit older, this can get more challenging because as you get older, you're generally, unfortunately, you probably get stiffer. But your warm-up is going to be longer as you get older. So it can be one of two things. You can walk to warm up. Like first thing that people usually do is they go sit on the can in the morning. Instead, well, maybe you do that, but you should get up, walk around a little bit, get the body loosened up. And really your first mile, especially if you've been sedentary, you're not up moving around a lot, your first mile should be your warm-up. I'm not huge on like doing a lot of stretching beforehand and doing all these different movements. You want to be dynamic. So there's a couple things you can do. You can treat your first mile as your warm-up. You should never go out like a bat out of hell. And that first mile is really to get the blood circulating. If you look at my Strava, a lot of my runs are very slow to start, partly because I'm stiff and I've been sitting in front of the computer doing some work or something. But you want to let that blood get flowing because that's going to decrease your risk for injury. So never go out the door, start hauling ass. Really, like if I had to give you an objective measure, you should be maybe 30, 45, 50, maybe even a minute slower per mile. I know some of you use kilometers, but per mile for that first mile. Just let the blood settle, let the blood get down there, and then you can start moving around a little bit and start working your pace up. Too many runners are going out, they're trying to hit paces right out of the gate, they feel stiff, they're forcing it, and it causes a lot of problems. There's also something else you can do. Before I do that, I'm going to show you a quick little warm-up. I don't think it's going to work. My office is a mess right now, but I just decided to do this. But you don't want to do static stretching. You don't want to hold your stretches before you work out. This is pretty well known in the medical world. You probably know this already. Hopefully you do. And if you don't, you're hearing it now. But when you do a static stretch, and static to me is when you're holding for 10, 20, 30 seconds, like say you're doing a calf stretch and you're just sitting there holding it, you're actually weakening the muscle. So you're going to go out and then ask it to do work. You're increasing your risk for injury. Your whole point in your warm-up is to warm up. Motion is lotion. So you want to be moving. So you can do your first mile warm-up, take it real slow. You can also just, I don't think this is going to work. And this is probably going to, I'm on this crappy tripod, so I'm pretty sure this is going to fall off. But let me see if I can make this work. So what you want to start doing too is you can do what's called a lunge matrix. So lunge matrix is, lunging sideways. And they don't have to be huge. Like you don't have to, I get so many runners that come in and okay, do a side lunge. And they're take this giant leap sideways or forward. So a lunge matrix is a great way to warm up. So I'll try to point this down a little bit. Again, office is really messy. I don't know. So we're going to do a side lunge, very small. We call them stunges or step lunges. So you can do sideways lunges. Maybe you're waiting for your Garmin. Back in the day, we used to wait for our Garmin to find the satellite. You don't have to do that anymore. Or maybe you're waiting for that friend that's always late to their runs. But just doing a simple set of 10 side lunges. Then we do a diagonal. So I'm going off at a forward at 45 degree angle. So a 45 set of lunges. You can do a forward lunge. Nothing deep. Remember, you don't need to do this drop knee lunge and then come back up. There's no need to go that far. Just get the blood circulating, get it moving. You can add rotation. So I'm going to step with my left and turn with my left. You can do rotation lunges. Shallow lunges are a great way to warm up if you're waiting for somebody, if you're not ready to go out. Maybe you're just contemplating because it's so cold out and you're just I'm just going to warm up a little bit, and you can just do your step lunges. Those are great ways to get that blood circulating, get motion, and decrease your risk for injury. Let's talk about cool down. And before I do that, again, if you guys want more help with your running, I appreciate shares and comments and tagging people in these things. But if you want help with the actual programs I use, go to the link in this post, and you can get access to my strength workouts and stuff like that. Cool downs. So let's talk about cool downs real quick. Big thing with cool downs, and this is what I see a lot of people do. Someone just threw me an angry face. Cool downs, probably for saying to try my stuff. I'm not sure. So cool downs, the big thing that I see with people is they finish their run. If you're like me, I'm in Buffalo. They just go in and they sit down because it's cold out, and you hit the stop of your watch and you're like, I'm done. I'm not doing anything. I'm gonna go inside. What you want to do is very similar to your warm up. When you're through a run, your body's revving hot. It's nice and warm, so it's the perfect opportunity to do stretches. So what you should identify is what's tight in you. Like I talk about stretching all the time, and you can stretch everything in your body and be really bored and be really useless, because you can stretch things that you don't need to stretch. So identifying what's tight, and then you go into what we talked about not doing, which is static stretching. So static stretching after your runs, holding for a minimum of 10 seconds, a maximum of 20 seconds, and working through a series of stretches is great post-run. I have a lot of different stretches that I've done on these lives. You can look in my video section. There's a gate stretch, calf stretch. All those things are great ways to tackle your cool down, but you can't just hit the beep, walk inside, and sit down, because all of that, you're wasting all of the heat that you've generated that makes your muscles nice and stretchy so you can get more range of motion if you need it. But you're just going to end up tightening things up. You're taking muscles that are working hard, and then stopping them. So here's a quick tip. This just came to me because I do this all the time too. Probably can't see this on my Strava because I hide some location stuff. But what I like to do is I like to add on 1/10 of a mile somewhere in my run. So let's say you're going to run 5 miles. This is a really easy tip, and I can't tell you guys that this is super helpful. My wife actually asked me the one day, why do you always like walking back to the house? And the main reason is because I add on about 1/10 of a mile somewhere in my run, so that when let's say I'm running out for a 5-mile run, I'll actually hit my 5 miles 1/10 of the mile from the house, and then I just walk it in. And that walking keeps you moving, right? Motion is lotion is good for you. It'll take you from generating a lot of heat and getting a lot of motion, and then it'll just bring it down slowly versus generating all this motion and you're running and then just stopping and sitting on the couch. So give that a try. There's 2 things that I just talked about. Use your first mile as your warm-up. Take it maybe up to a minute slower than what you're looking for. Use a series of lunges. I went through this in this post. You can rewatch it if you need to. And then on cooldowns, add a 1/10 of a mile and walk a 1/10 of a mile at the end of your runs. That should help you at least just not even adding anything to your running, right? So like maybe you don't want to do the strength workouts. Maybe you don't want to do the balance stuff, which I think is a terrible decision. But at least you can add a 1/10 of a mile to your run and walk home. At least you can take your first mile slower, and that will help you guys stay injury free. So probably get me some more angry faces by telling you if you want more help, go to tryrunsmart.com. But I'm going to say it anyways. Check out tryrunsmart.com if you want some more help with your running. I'll be back, and we're going to keep talking about how to keep you guys running faster. All right. Have a great day, everyone. Good night, whatever it is. Bye.